what's going on? This is a 2023 KTM 125 XC bike. These bikes are claiming to be all new this year, which they are pretty new. They have the TBI on them and the full fuel injection system battery. But I've been using these bikes for a while, from the I'd say 2020 range and up. I bought the XC models, so I just wanted to let people know kind of what you can put on these bikes from your 2022, let's say. I just was able to swap some parts over, thank God. So I put the P3 carbon pipe guard on. That's from my 2022 XC. I also put on my Enduro Engineering fork guard protectors and brake rotor guard as well. It bolts up fine, but one thing I did notice was, and I don't know if my nut on my other bike was messed up or not, but I believe they changed the threads on the axle for this nut, so you can't like switch this bolt between the two bikes, the 2022 and the 2023. As far as what I hate about this thing, this radiator cap is absolute garbage. I don't know why they made this like this. They reinforced this aluminum and made it super fancy the way it mounts, but to get this off, every time you turn it, it hurts your hand, and it pops off the breather hose, the vent hose, where it expels the hot coolant. If you had to do that on a trail, you might get that on you or burn you. It's just not a really good setup because it always comes off of this. And hopefully some company like Nihilo Concepts maybe makes a better one of these where it's just easier, and maybe the like you can route this like ejection line like into the tube of the frame or something, or just change it in general. It's just really bad design. You cannot put a 2022 cap, regular cap, on here, so that's really annoying as well. Another thing is this start switch everybody complains about. So it's combined, whereas on the 2022 it was separated in all the other previous bikes. So essentially the best thing to do is either get the Nihilo kit or just buy the buttons from Amazon and wire it up yourself behind the number plate. The Nihilo kit it comes with the KTM fitting, which is really handy and nice, so that helps. But if the reason this is so bad is if you press both of these at the same time, it throws an error code and it'll light up on your dash. So then you have to go get your ECU upgraded from the dealers, but I believe that's a free fix, which is nice if you want to continue to run, let's say this, if you wanted to continue to run this setup, let's say. But yeah, I mean, overall it's really cool that it's integrated and stuff, but I know a lot of enduro racers kind of like having a separate button. As well as the maps, I don't really feel that much of a difference. One's a sandy map and one's a hard map, like for hard packed soil. I don't know. That's kind of finicky to me, but other than that, these things are pretty sick. You do the whole like choke situation here down here. You pop the choke up and roll the throttle forward, and it'll pop the choke back down, which is pretty cool. You can hear it click, which is really nice, if you got your gear on and stuff and you're cold, or you're cold, bike's cold, and you don't want to have to get back down there and look for what the hell's going on with the choke. So I get that. That's a pretty cool upgrade. The tank's a little finicky. The fuel pump is located directly underneath the seat right here. So for a lot of enduro guys, they're worried fuel's going to be down here while they're riding, and you're not going to be able to get it. You're going to run the bike dry from the fuel pump area, considering it's not a petcock like anymore, like it used to be right here. So I haven't had any experience with that. I think the bike runs pretty good. I don't know if that could happen to you. Essentially, KTM's idea was when you're laying it over in corners and stuff, this fuel would then get pushed up into a cavity up here where the fuel pump sits, and you wouldn't run out of gas. I think these bikes come stock with a 51 tooth. I've tried a 53, and I'm about to try a 52 tooth sprocket, so that's another thing I'm trying out. The gearing's a little crazy. I don't think the front's a 13 tooth. Yeah, it's a 13, so stock. Yeah, the foot pegs are awesome though. It's a really good addition. They're super strong. I don't think I can actually bend these in like I did on the 2022 ones, so that's pretty dope. Skid plate's also really good. I got it right there. I took it off doing an oil change, but you know, it's super solid. You don't really need to get another one. I do recommend maybe drilling a hole in it though, because if you do an oil change with it on, it just pulls up in there, and you know, if you drill a hole, it might just drain through the skid plate. So that'd be kind of a good upgrade, I'd say. Another thing I tried to switch over was my Enduro Engineering shark fin, which goes down here, but because of the caliper being changed for 2023 from 2022, you can't switch over any shark fins unless they mount in some other way without replacing the caliper hanger. So that's something to keep in mind. Trying to think of anything else. The seat's updated. I think the seat's a great update. It's pretty dang grippy compared to the 2022 models with just the little ribs. The elastomer ribs, they aren't so great. From what I can tell, this pipe is almost identical other than these mounting bolts and stuff, so you can't really go and do like what you did with your 2020 or 2022 bikes. Another thing I found interesting was I do it this way. This situation here has been a big talked about a lot. This pin usually comes in the other way if you buy the bike, but you can remove this and put the pin in the normal way. But as you can see, this blocks it. If I can get square on it, it doesn't really work like it's supposed to, you know? So a lot of guys are grinding this off and buying an Enduro Engineering or an aftermarket spring, return spring setup for right in here, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that really matters. I don't see this foot peg coming out. I don't see myself moving my brake lever here, so I don't really understand why that people are actually spending money on that. You can just remove this, put your pin in the right way, put your cotter pin in, you know, because with your cotter pin up here, the idea is a lot of guys are thinking their cotter pin's gonna fall out, and then the pin's gonna just fall right through. I've even seen some real hard enduro guys, they just throw a dang bolt right through there and just bolt it with a nylock bolt on the bottom. So that's another strategy if this is really giving you that big of an issue or just driving you crazy. As far as what I really want to talk about though, I think the fuel on these things needs to be discussed. You know, someone needs to talk about this a little bit more from KTM. It's a JASO certified oil rating, and people are having these bikes bug up or bog up and just clog with oil. I'm running this thing at 40-to-1 with a JASO, you know, Motorex oil, 2-stroke oil. But I used to be a huge fan of the, you know, AMSOIL products, and now you can't run the AMSOIL stuff, or at least you're not, like, I don't know, because AMSOIL says you're supposed to run Sabre at 80-to-1 to 100-to-1. That's optimal ratio, you know. So these bikes are recommended at 40-to-1. So I don't know if I can do that, and the ECU's locked, so you can't really change anything there. I just wonder how the bike would react if I ran an 80-to-1 oil. Like, I don't want to blow the bike up because of the ECU if I'm running it that lean. And it doesn't know with the throttle body that it needs to be that it is that lean, that the fuel in there is that lean. So if anyone has any like experience with that or running different oils, you know, Sabre is JASO certified. I don't really want to run Sabre at 40-to-1. I don't think that makes much sense to me. I don't really get that. I think it's better to run it at 80-to-1 or 100-to-1. It's designed to be ran super thin. Whereas these JASO and Motorex, I think it's a way they're making money. Like, it just seems like they want me to blow a bunch of money on Motorex oil and putting 40-to-1 in my bike with this setup. I don't see it. I mean, it runs great, but I'd like to have some flexibility with my oil choice instead of just having to use Motorex or something from KTM. Other than that, that's pretty much my initial thoughts on this bike. If anyone has any other ideas about the ratios or other aftermarket parts that you can switch over, that would be really cool to throw in there. Yeah, that's about it. Catch you later.